Hey, this is Ayuma Michelle, and welcome to Let's with Ayuma. Now, first of all, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Please go ahead because this is our channel and we look forward to, growing and supporting each other as fellow millennials. So if you watched my previous video, which was actually my intro, you would have learned that, this is a special online safe space dedicated to the African millennial to thrive with purpose. And why is that so? So this year I actually celebrated 4 years of my coaching brand, which is called Let's. It stands for Leading Through Story. And when I sat down with my fellow business coach, my fellow business partner, who's also a coach, dealing with lots of career, we shared notes about, what are we noticing in the market? What are we noticing about the issues that people are coming to us with? But also, what are some of the things we are noticing as common challenges by millennials, who come to us for services? And we realized that there was a whole lot of stuff that was going on. But most importantly, we noticed that there was a lot of um, hopelessness in the air. I mean, it does not take long to realize that. All you have to do is just switch on the TV and just watch the news. There's a lot of negativity out there. And what I noticed from most millennials, it was because I believe words are powerful and words locate us. I noticed that there are many millennials who, when I located them by their words, there was a lot of hopelessness. And this looks like, job insecurity or unemployment or underemployment. It looked like failed relationships. It looked like a loss of faith in many institutions, be it marriage, education, government. It also looks like a lot of despair, when you look at climate change and the kind of things that are happening on the continent, how nature has been responding to us with regards to what we've been giving it. And also just spiritually, because there's a lot of hopelessness, there's a lot of despair, and there's a lot of mental health issues which have risen up, which have led to also serious cases like suicide, depression. There's so much out there. And I know that this is not the first time you're hearing this, because if you're a millennial, you have definitely heard it, either gone through it by yourself or you've heard it from somebody else. So because my spiritual strength and my spiritual gift is encouragement, I thought of why not leverage my gifts and my experience as a coach to actually respond to this situation. And when I read God's word, it took me directly to Joshua, the book of Joshua and his journey. And one thing that I've strongly been feeling is that we are the Joshua generation. Why? Because I believe that there's a generation that came before us, and that season is coming to an end. Whatever it is that they were supposed to do, they did it or did not do it. But then this strain, this growth, it always comes with a lot of interruption and a lot of discomfort. And that's why I believe that this is a season of growth for many of us millennials. First of all, millennials are people who in 2019 turned 23 to between the range of 23 to 20 to 38. So you are the people I'm speaking to. And so when I thought about this generation, I noticed that there's a huge shift. And when I looked at Joshua and his particular generation, do you know that there are only two people in Joshua's generation that actually made it to the promised land? That is Joshua and Caleb. And the reason why these two people made it, are the only ones who made it to the promised land, is because they stayed obedient, they stayed focused on their purpose, and they stayed focused on listening to what God was teaching them and showing them. So this is why I believe we are the Joshua generation, because number one, we are the we are actually the first generation that has actually decided to refute how things have been done. We are the ones who are really challenging the status quo. It is not easy, but it is very necessary, so that the generations following us will actually have a more clearer idea and more confident on what exactly their standing is. I know for a fact that the way things have been going, it's not been the right way. I mean, look at the leadership. I honestly believe that leadership is the number one core issue that is affecting this continent. And as somebody who's been in this space for a very long time, I can tell you that literally leadership makes or breaks our continent and even our families and communities and societies. So when I looked at Joshua and Caleb and I thought about What similarities do they have with us? Number one, they are confident enough to challenge status quo. Number two, they're the only ones who made it to the promised land. Number three, they listened to God's command. And also, number four, they actually ended up making it to the promised land. It's not that they were destined to, but they did that. But how did these two people make it to the promised land? How were they, what did they do in their youth that then led them to go to the promised land? It was very interesting that actually when Moses sent them out to survey the land, a land where they were sent out to, they were promised that this would be your land, that this would be the land that you will inherit by their forefathers, by Moses, and by God himself. They were sent out, and when they came back, it is only Joshua and Caleb who actually shared a good report. And these two people who shared a good report, no matter how big or scary, whatever they saw, they actually dared to believe that the promised land that had their name, that had their name on it, that they were told by their forefathers, by their leader, and by God himself, that they actually dared to believe that it is true. And so no matter how many people they had to conquer, no matter how large the land, no matter how scary the journey and the battle lied ahead, they dared to believe that that was their land, and that their mindset was shifted, and they dared to believe that indeed we will give a good report because we believe in the words that have been spoken of our lives. And so, dear millennial, I want to challenge you as this year begins. 2020 is your year. And it takes a lot of courage and strength to actually believe that it is true, because the news is going to tell you a different narrative. Mainly old people around you are going to tell you a different narrative, because where are our mentors? Where are the old people who are speaking positivity to us? Where are they? But also fellow young people who have believed to sell out to despair, they will tell that to you as well. But this is to tell you that if you truly and honestly believe that the life that you've been granted to live in 2020, it is worth something. If you dare to believe that truly 2020 is a year of greatness in your life, it shall come to pass. And so, just the way God and just the way the community leader of the Israelites did, he did not make it easy for them, but he strengthened them and he walked with them. So I promise you that 2020 will not be easy. It will not be handed to you on a silver platter. But guess what? The fact that you're alive, the fact that you've crossed over to 2020, it means that there's a great plan for you ahead. Will you dare to believe it? Will you have the audacity to believe it despite what the world around is telling you? Will you actually move forward with confidence and bring a great report? Would you dare to believe that there's something great ahead of you in 2020? Well, let's see how that goes. And the great example is that Joshua and Caleb, right from their youth, they dared to believe that there's something great for them in the days ahead of them, in the journey ahead of them, in the battle ahead of them. I encourage you to do the same thing. And in fact, I would challenge you to take some action. Take a piece of paper and a pen and write down 10 things that you are grateful for, that you're proud you are able to achieve in 2019. Why? Because everything that is celebrated will be repeated. And so, if you look back in 2019 with a spirit of gratitude, with a mentality of gratitude, and celebrate what was possible despite it all, guess what? It will be repeated in 2020 and more. And also, I'd like to challenge you to think of 3 main experiences that you'd like, great experiences. Don't think about limitation, 3 great experiences you would like to have in 2020. If you're to think of 2020 as a movie, think of 3 great experiences you'd like that movie to represent. And I'd like you to write that down and challenge yourself to draw out goals out of each of those experiences. Not random annual goals, but think of quarterly goals, because that's where many people go wrong. They create annual goals that are so, big and so hard to bite. But break down those goals and ask yourself, if I'm to challenge myself to, create a quarterly goal, out of this main experience, what would it be? You know, if you'd like to, let's say, go travel to a destination, or maybe you'd like to fund your very first travel, your very first trip to, let's say, the coast, because maybe you've never been to the coast. Break down that experience of the coast, indulge in that experience. Ask yourself, what does it look like? Where would I like to be? What activities would I like to do? Whom would I like to be with? What kind of music or food would I like to taste? Like, indulge in those three major experiences, break them down into quarterly goals, and then reach out to people who can keep you accountable, and surround yourself to people who speak life, because what did I say? Words literally locate you, and words are powerful. Dear millennial, I know that the journey ahead of us in 2020, it is not easy, but it is possible. And I dare believe that it will be the greatest year of my life yet. Do you believe the same for yourself? So I will see you when we go through the next year in 2020. I hope that this will serve as an encouragement. This message will serve as an encouragement to where you're at right now. You know, Christmas is over. Many people are thinking about planning for the new year. People are looking at their bank accounts. Many people are busy screaming and worrying about January, you know. But no, I challenge you to think differently. I challenge you to think positively about this great new year, which is going to be your best year yet. So I encourage you to think of the best of your 2020, and I look forward to journeying more with you in 2020. See you then. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is Let's with Ayuma, where we are empowering millennials to thrive with purpose. See you in the next video. Bye bye.